Lots of suspicious incidents are leading me to believe that my wife has been cheating on me for the last few years, at least, and I want some reassurance that I'm doing the right thing. I, 35M, think that my wife, 33F, is cheating on me, and has been for many years. We've been together for 14 years, but we've been married for almost 10 years, and we have a 5-year-old daughter together. Incident number 1. When my wife and I were in college, where we first started dating, we had an incident where she had some really sexually graphic text from a guy we both knew from school. She even had classes with him. I confronted her about the text. I definitely didn't handle it well, and basically accused her straight out of the gates as cheating on me without realizing that there were some possible outs for her. One of those outs was that she claimed that they were just some pervy texts she had gotten from this guy out of the blue, and that if I had paid attention when I was snooping through her phone, that she hadn't actually responded to them. At the time, I conceded that I may have overlooked that possibility and I had overreacted. She apologized to me for not mentioning to me that some guy was hitting on her like that, and I apologized for overreacting and for snooping. We moved on from there. Incident number 2. Fast forward to this last year. My daughter, wife, and I are at the gas station. I can tell my wife is kind of distant and detached from the interactions my daughter and I are having. I know that she's glued to her phone as well. The gas fill for our car is on the passenger side, and I have the rear passenger door open so I can tickle my daughter while I wait for the car to fill up. That's such a dad thing to do. I'm really suspicious of what my wife is doing at this point, so I decide that I'm going to take a look over at my wife's shoulder from the back seat at what she's so caught up in. Turns out she is actively / in the moment sexting some guy. Like words, descriptions, acts that very much seem like they've been doing this a while, texting. And looking back with 2020 hindsight, I'm fairly certain they have been fucking as well. Also, all the shit she was texting was super graphic, stuff that she never used with me, either in dirty talk or when we got intimate. And I know this next admission is pathetic and that it shouldn't matter more than anything else, but the fact that she wanted to share in these acts with this man instead of me really hurt. Probably just my pride talking, but it is what it is. So fast forward 10 minutes when we get home, and I have to suffer through smiling during dinner and the whole nighttime ritual of getting our daughter to bed so as to not casually cause a scene by blowing up at my wife for what I had seen her texting. Honestly, that was probably a blessing because it allowed me to collect my thoughts before confronting her. I ended up telling my wife what I saw at the gas station, and right off the bat she tried to play dumb. What are you talking about? Honey, you're making no sense. I told her to not play dumb with me, and I recited some of the texts that I could remember back to her to prove that I saw what I saw. She then goes on to admit that it was a mistake, but that it was 100% nothing physical and that she was really sorry. She admitted that the guy was a work colleague. We talked a lot that night about why she felt the need to be doing that. A lot of it boiled down to her feeling depressed and lonely. We talked about strategies that we could invoke at home, things that we both could change to help mend the rift. I guess things felt kind of okay after that, but it felt like that damage to our trust was already done, and I don't think we ever fully recovered. Even that seemingly small moment of infidelity, assuming that was only text, was such a freaking hammer to my heart. Ever since that incident from last year, I've been waking up every day as a lesser version of my former self. My emotions and propensity, oh, that's a nice word, to feel anything have been severely muted. Interacting with my daughter is about the only thing that gets me back to close to a baseline of how I remember my former self, but beyond those precious moments, I'm just a walking, grayed out zombie that puts on a good face for pretty much everything from my day to day, going to work, interacting with my wife, etc. Most recent incident number 3. Now fast forward to yesterday. My wife has just been gone on a week-long quote-unquote work trip to the East Coast. We are West Coast. I had actually zero suspicions or justifiable reason to be worried for this trip because things have been going pretty well between us and she hadn't really given off any indicators of suspicious behavior. But my first clue was that when she arrived at her destination, she couldn't get the Wi-Fi working for FaceTime, and this stayed true for the entirety of her trip. First of all, FaceTime works on cellular data just fine, which we have a ridiculous amount of. I explained that to her without much of a response. Second, I know that if I were gone for a week from my family, it would be my biggest fucking priority to get FaceTime up and running so that I could see my family's faces every time I called to visit, which would be every single night. Which brings me to my next point. She called us in the evening to say goodnight maybe 2 times out of the 7 days that she was gone. Based on previous trips she's had, this was really strange. Normally she is like clockwork, touching in with us to share her day and to hear from us about our day, and, again, always on FaceTime. I asked her about that, and she claimed that she was just too tired in the evenings to get back to us. Also, in the past, if she was away from me/home, she would always text me goodnight and that she loved me, even if we had previously chatted moments earlier on FaceTime or via phone call. For this recent trip, she never texted me once. So, when she got back, my radar was on high alert. Now, I don't feel good about this next part, but when she went to sleep that night, I checked her travel bag to see if my suspicions were correct. Sure enough, to my surprise, she keeps this little red book as a diary in her work bag. I open it up and there's a date marked 2-9-15. Turned out she'd started writing a poem on that day about her daughter, who had just been born the previous fall. Okay, that's really sweet, I say to myself, and I start to feel bad about my snooping. Flip to the next page, and there's a new entry. There's no date, but it's written sequentially right after the aforementioned poem, so I know that what I described here was an entry that came after our daughter being born. This non dated entry starts off with her describing how much she longs for this specific person, but doesn't give his name. She goes on to talk about how she can't stop thinking about him. Every man she sees reminds her of him. She talks about how she never really intended for things to go very far, but that one night that started in the bar and ended up going upstairs just felt too right to not be something meaningful. She goes on to say that she doesn't feel bad about making that decision in regard to how it impacts her other life. She describes how she thinks maybe her other life was the mistake. This goes on for pages. That entry ends with her making peace with herself that he moved on from her, and it was time for her to forget about him. I am assuming that her other life was our daughter and me. There was only one more entry after that previous one. I took pictures of it and I have typed it out here in its entirety. I'm laughing to myself because I haven't opened this book in over 2 years, and here I am sitting on his bed, in his room, at his home, still feeling angst over so many of the same things. I'll go home after a week with him and I'll be asking the same questions. Is he ever going to call after? Was it so stupid to go on this trip? So funny how I thought we'd never speak again, and look where I am. We worked together, we talked almost every day, and he was there for me as a friend. Now here I am, and back with questions. Why were we so hot and cold those first couple of days and then just tapered off? Maybe he's doing that moral compass wrestling, and after I leave, we'll never speak again. This trip was probably a bad idea, but we had a lot of fun. And he did say he'd been looking forward to it. He missed me, he wanted this, I know that. I wish he would just tell me he wants me, just me, and always me. It's like we dance around things because he still wants us to have this thing happening despite the rest of my life, and I just don't want to talk about that, to the point that I'm lying, and I hate lying to him. But meanwhile, every tender moment I have with him is so precious I can't believe it. I couldn't imagine we'd actually be snuggling on the couch, and there we were. I haven't slept since reading that last full entry. I haven't confronted her yet, either. It's been almost 48 hours now without sleep, and I'm just an emotional wreck. I just don't know how to handle the situation. I guess I've gotten so good at wearing the zombie mask ever since incident number 2 happened that I've been able to limp through the last couple days, but it's getting really, really hard to be around her. I hopped online and read some guides on how to deal with infidelity, and most of the guides mentioned therapy, so I'm going to look into that tomorrow. Just filing for divorce isn't so simple. My wife has a serious seizure disorder that is uncontrolled. She can't tell when they're happening, so that puts herself and possibly others, small kids especially, our daughter to be exact, in danger. I mention this as it pertains to custody. Imagine she's making dinner for her and my daughter one evening, and she has a seizure near the stovetop, and the house catches on fire. Well, the only adult in that house is lying on the floor unconscious. Or what if my daughter has a medical emergency, but then my wife has a seizure due to the stress of the situation? These are very real possibilities, and ones that I fear could happen if she got custody in any way. Some of those examples aren't too far off from the other real life incidents we've had over the years due to her seizure disorder. She obviously can't drive. Will this factor into a custody dispute? I mean, our daughter is starting kindergarten in a month. How could my wife transport her? I don't know what I'm looking for with this whole rambling post. Maybe just assurance that her gaslighting isn't working? That what I've described isn't the workings of an overly paranoid mind? I feel like one minute I'm ready to file for the divorce, and the next I want to try to salvage things for the sake of our daughter, and just to avoid the awful mess that will be made of all three of our lives if we end up separating. Here's some other logistical details that seem important for anyone who's managed to read this far. We own a house together, have a mortgage. I make about X per year. She makes around X per year. Those two X's were deleted. We have significant investments that we have joint control over that were given to us by her dad. They total somewhere in the range of X in stocks and bonds. I'm on wonderful terms with her parents and her family in general. I've always been that son-in-law that was there for everyone to lend help no matter how small or how large. All of her immediate family is right here where we live. I have zero family support from my side where we live. My nearest friend is 1.5 hours away. Thanks for any help in advance. Edit/update. I left work today in order to start lining things up. I have a lawyer lined up for this Friday. That's the earliest I could find in my area. It's just a consultation, so I'm not sure what to expect from that one meeting alone. Thanks to everyone for all of your pros and especially your daggers. I definitely needed some other perspectives. I know it all seems unbelievable that I could go on this long, but I've been seriously gaslit for years now. I've just been conditioned to it. It's also a character flaw of mine to want to see the best in people. I'm just so fucking scared of the unexpected. Damn it. I just hope she admits to it. Is there any way she can twist this around on me? Like invasion of privacy? We are a WA state, so I can't record me confronting her without consent. The chances that she's cheating on you is probably pretty high, especially given that one scenario where you guys were in the car. I could definitely see how that could lead to Not exactly something with that guy, but something where she's just exploring how much she can get away with and how secretive she's gonna have to be in the past. Anyways, that's just what I think. Also, there's this person riding like a motorcycle super loudly, just back and forth, right outside my house. So if you guys hear that, I am so sorry. Anyways, let's get right into update one. I met with my lawyer this morning and she was great. She gave me a lot of confidence that I felt was draining away from me throughout the week as I waited to confront her. I also had a good friend that was my rock throughout the week, and I will never be able to thank him enough. I ended up confronting my wife right after the meeting with the lawyer. I refused to give up any of my evidence. I just said, I know about the other guy, I need you to talk about it. I just kept repeating that line while she went through crocodile tears and confusion about what I was talking about. It was so fucking hard not giving up any of that information, but I knew that I had all the power in that situation. In the end, she never confessed. I basically moved the conversation from there by saying, well, it doesn't matter if you admit to what I already know or not, because the sexting that you just did last year was enough to destroy any trust I had in you, and I can no longer live like this. From there, she just kind of shut down and became pretty docile and never brought this back up because it was an outrageous thing I was falsely accusing her of, in her words. We pretty quickly moved into business, like details about what to do in the short term. Her dad came over and picked her up and gave me a hug and said, let us know if you need anything. I fucking teared up right in that moment. I'm not letting my guard down yet because anything can happen, but I think things may work out for the better for everyone involved. I cannot thank everyone here on Reddit enough for your thoughts, jabs, pearls of wisdom, and funny comments. You all gave me some serious wake up calls and support. I am forever in your debt. Comments from OP. Does the family know? They don't know. For the sake of being reasonable and just wanting this to be over, I told my wife I'm on board with just telling our family we don't love each other anymore and will think that we'll make better parents and lives for ourselves not being together. We haven't really talked about what we are going to tell our daughter. I will not be accepting her back if she does admit. There is nothing salvageable here. What happened during the confrontation? Yeah, I'm over that part. During the confrontation, she actually tried to pull the what the fuck are you doing? Spying on me? Having someone follow me? I expected it, so I just stared at her as she went into that mode. Update 2. Just wanted to fill people in here with where I am at everything. Things are actually pretty good right now. We obviously separated after I confronted her. She still hasn't admitted to anything. We sold the house, and now I've got an apartment with my daughter. More about custody later. I'm actually having a blast making the space my own, and it's nice having my own time to myself again. I do have to say that I thought the loneliness would fade a bit faster, but the feelings of desperation and not knowing what to do with myself are still pretty sharp. I've started working out a lot, and I've also gotten back into writing and recording music again, which I haven't done in years. As far as my ex goes, I decided to keep things as amicable as I could for my daughter's sake, and I think it's the single best decision I've made throughout all of this bullshit. By allowing myself to feel all of the emotions I needed to feel before confronting her, I was able to keep rational and calm throughout all of this, and it's really made all the difference. I can't imagine how awful things would have been on an emotional, legal, and custodial level had I just blown up everything when I confronted her. I've confided in a few close friends about the truth of the situation, just because I needed someone to talk to about all of the BS to make sure I was acting accordingly. But beyond that, no other family knows the situation. To everyone else, we just separated for amicable reasons. Her mom in particular is taking things pretty hard. I feel bad for her. She is struggling to understand what happened, but that's on my ex to tell her, not me. For custody, while we wait for the divorce to finalize, it's that I get my daughter Monday through Friday since I am the only one that can drive her to school. My ex gets her Saturday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. My ex's seizures are predominantly in the evening, and it's just not safe for our daughter to be there on her own. At least not until she's older. We're gonna work that out and get those details in writing at some point here. Anyways, I'm feeling about 60% good and about 40% freaked the fuck out now that I'm on my own. At 36, I have no idea how to approach the dating scene, and my confidence is a bit shot to hell right now. I mean, for fuck's sakes, I haven't given serious consideration to another woman in over 14 years. So I'm probably just gonna wait for 3 to 4 months while I get to know myself again, get in better shape, and then see how I feel after that. Not try to put too much pressure on myself to find someone again. If anyone else has any questions, I'll try to answer them. Thanks again for all your support. I can honestly say that this would have turned out as well as it did if it wasn't for your help. Take care. Another relevant comment from him says, did you get a paternity test for your daughter? I would if there was any doubt at all that she was mine. I mean, I'm not going to post a picture of her, of course, but she's a spitting image of me. Zero doubts in that arena, thankfully. And even if she turned out not to be mine, I would give zero fucks. She's my kid, always will be. I get it from a know her health history angle, but again, she's 100% mine. Update 3. Introducing a new partner to my 7-year-old. I, 37M, am looking for some advice and tips on introducing my partner, 36F, to my daughter. All three of us are active people, and I want to pick a neutral space for them to meet. I was thinking a visit to the zoo might be fun, just looking to feel out if there are some common mistakes/pitfalls I could avoid here. Thank you all. So it seems like he's got his life back together. Now, that third update was from 2 years after the second update. But other than that, all I have to say is that, yeah, she probably cheated on you, even though there's no solid evidence of it. And I'm just glad that you've made the most of your life and moved on finally. And I think that one commenter mentioned something pretty important here. They said, the fact that she never said anything to her parents is pretty telling. If she was innocent, she would have said so and framed OP for being paranoid. Her silence to her own parents shows she did in fact cheat. And it's really mature of you to not just air out all your business to your parents because you obviously had a good relationship with them and you don't want to just throw that away for no reason because of something your wife did. Because it's not really her parents' fault? Anyways, that's going to do it for this story. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.